Hello everyone, Alex here, and today we're gonna try to make a list of the 5 best teams currently in the game this World Collide. So you will need primarily 3 teams in the game, and there are 3 in Elite Arena that you unlock relatively soon. For a while you will be playing with 1 team in main stages, but at chapter around 34 I think it's the second team. It requires 2 teams, and then at 44 it requires 3 teams. So it's good to plan for that. If you're a beginner, if you're an advanced player, they kind of change around the Elite Arenas recently. So previous season was more for superpower damage. This is with anti-hero. Maybe they make physical damage next one because the team with Vigilante and Judo Master is not yet released. This ends after 11 days, and Peacemakers ends after 16 days. So maybe they will do a second one after that. Maybe I don't think they will all jam them together, the epics, but it's good to have some extra options because you need some teams for Evil Falls that require, each one requires a different team that usually are here where it says recommended. You can see who are the best characters and the best team synergies to use, and many of those teams that you can use have also value in Elite Arena, or at least pieces of them. Also, then there's the league challenges that this requires to have an area of effect. This requires to have burn. This requires to have back row characters that can kinda make a team, especially like the 2 poison characters are a little bit of a team. For early game you can throw in like before level 220 you can throw in what's his name? Scarecrow, and this is a very decent team for early game, but purple characters can go up to level 220 and then you cannot use them much anymore after you go above that. Here it requires a shield team, here it requires single target burst, here it requires debuffs. At the last one sometimes there's block, sometimes there is now it will probably be this one, revive, but it's not really a team. And also with Pandora, sacrifice. So there are some places in the game where it makes sense to build a team. Also building for like main stages and Elite Arena, have some spare characters that you can use in league challenges can also help you like build teams with convergence crises, to build teams specific for system recovery that, for example, doesn't have agile characters or not mighty or not tactical. So you can be flexible and you can use many different characters in many places, and so many evil falls that are more particular here. At the same time, I don't want to stress out beginner players that you need to have 5 teams. You need to have 1 main team in main stages. You need to try to make some teams in Elite Arena that are relatively decent if you want to get those rewards, and start planning for the main stages for the first 3. Because I know many people that are watching this aren't yet at the point where they need 3 teams. So it's nice to know what are the 5 strongest teams. Don't stress out about it. And you will need primarily 3 teams. So you start with 3 teams, and then you build some extra characters that can work in some situations to allow you to do more stuff in the game. So I'm adding 2 more teams. It's a round number. It can give you some extra options in different seasons of Elite Arena. Some characters that you may want to use for league challenges. There are some chapters in main stages where it makes sense to change characters around, because you may need, for example, a character that puts out bleeds, like Deathstroke, to stop someone that is putting out shield. So Moving on to the teams. So I haven't had them necessarily in perfect order because now we are in a place in the game where the best teams are kind of changing, so it's not super clear to me to make a very clear cut top 5, but I kind of want to talk first about Block. Block is probably the strongest team. It's the team that wins mostly in Elite Arena, that wins more than other teams. It's the team I'm currently using also in Arena. So if you have a team that you can use on your first main stages team and in Arena as a team and in Elite Arena, let's see, that's my team, what I have here, like it's the same team basically. Also those teams, a side note, and maybe I'm gonna touch more about that, you can kinda mix them together and try to make a stronger team. So there are 5 teams that maybe you want to have a hybrid of Block and Crit, like I have here in some situations, or Block and Debuff is another way you can use the Block team. But and the way I'm using them in Elite Arena, I have videos on those teams. I don't want to go extremely in detail about how to every character works and together and their gear and everything. I have many videos on that. But in Elite Arena, usually I use them like this with Zone Constantine, because Zone Constantine gives them buffs, and buffs make Nightwing have a higher chance of landing his stance. They need extra damage. The 3 Block characters aren't the best in that. The team synergy is very strong though, because it gives them, when you have blocks, your team's attack for everyone, not just the Block characters, gradually increases to 30% extra. Plus, if you have them at rank 10 Ocean Master, Team Synergy level 3, when an ally blocks an attack, all allies are healed for 1% of their max HP. So you want to have 2 big blockers in the front row. Nightwing is an awesome character for that. Blue Beetle makes this team a lot stronger against a crit team. They were losing against a crit team without a Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle has some stuff in his kit where he counters crit and makes him win against them in Elite Arena, for example. You can kind of hybridize them in Arena because Wonder Woman is still an awesome character and very strong elsewhere. But in Elite Arena or main stages, when you want to spread them apart, it makes more sense to have Constantine with them, and either Pandora, if you have her relatively big, she's probably the best healer, or Kid Flash, otherwise a substitute. Again, you could try doing something like a Wonder Woman Zatanna, or Sinestro and Raven, or even with them, if you don't have Blue Beetle, also throw in a Grodd and try to make a team like this. I can use a team like this in a System Recovery, where I don't need a color that is not on the team. Mighty, I think, is out of the team, because there's characters agile and tactical in this team, but not Mighty. Yes, and so I don't want to go too much in detail in every team, but you can kind of hybridize. You don't need to be clear cut. Okay, if you are building a main stages team, you don't need to build Constantine and Pandora to the biggest. If you don't need 3 teams, it's best to have Wonder Woman, which is the second team I'm gonna talk about. It's not necessarily the second best team, but it was until very recently, and I'm kind of having a hard time deciding if I want to drop them down on like a top 5 or where they will go exactly. So I'm gonna mention other teams that are very strong. Wonder Woman definitely an awesome character, the best in the game, but more and more characters start to counter her to some degree, so she might not be awesome in PvP anymore. And used to be the case that in PvP you have them with Red Hood Steam Synergy because he gives them crit chance and crit damage, and if he's at rank 10, an extra superpower resistance. So you go doing a lot of early damage, high damage up front, and you kill people. Now they're more beefy, they can sustain themselves more to a big degree because of Blue Beetle. He gives his back row allies crit damage reduction, he gives them a damage reduction, he removes Frantics, makes them into exhaustion, removes Frantics here, gives Shelter to the back row that gives them 50% less attack. He does something with his emblem where I'm kind of asking it to make a very long video. I have a full video on blog if you want to check that out. Not much have changed from that. The enemies damage with a counter attack gain a 20% exo if a crit hits him. He does a counter attack, and no, a back row ally is hit with a crit. He does a counter attack. He increases the crit rate and reduces the crit damage, so they actually do less damage to you when they feed other stuff that he does, that when he's hit by a critical attack he gives more damage reduction to the back row, so he kinda counters them. Now Peacemaker is into the game. Peacemaker has something in his kit here where damage for critical hits is always reduced regardless of the damage type, and it has 25 damage reduction, 50 and 75. So you can get him to get 75% less damage by crits. He does, with this in particular, he doesn't necessarily protect his teammates. You can kill other people and he just stays alive, but he also gives them every shelter every turn, every round. So this also can protect your back row. So there's, if you have a Blue Beetle and a Peacemaker in a Elite Arena, 2 out of 3 teams kinda counter Wonder Woman. It's still a bit early to tell about Peacemaker and his uses and whatever, but I want to mention him that, okay, the crit team is not like the strongest. It used to be the strongest. They buffed Blue Beetle up a little bit. Now many people have him because he was in a fusion. So yes, I didn't mention that. If you don't have Blue Beetle, you can try to use Vixen or try to hybridize them more with someone like Grodd and put like more blocking gear into them and try to make it work, or even throw like a Lex as a second tank. But yeah, regarding Wonder Woman, I'm kinda assuming that many people have Blue Beetle, so that's why they aren't as impactful anymore. They're still very strong in main stages. You can use them in many situations, like Converges, Crisis Watch, team ups. She's still used in Arena at the moment. She can be area of effect or even help you, like here for example I have her in my team, and here as well I have her in my team, even though they don't necessarily have the tags for that. It's not like Wonder Woman being countered by Blue Beetle and by Peacemaker now just suddenly made them irrelevant and bad and not worthy of investing into. Just, you kinda need to be aware that they're kinda starting to lose more and more in Elite Arena, and there might even be a discussion later in the video that you may want to replace her altogether from Arena. I'm gonna share some thoughts about stuff that I haven't tested very much. I have started testing it and I've seen people using that against me. So For crit, as I said, you can still use them like in main stages. The team synergy for Elite Arena or even for Arena early game, this might make sense to use if you happen to have those characters. Is from Red Hood, but in main stages usually don't use him. Zatanna is a staple that you want to use with Wonder Woman because she gives Frantic, that Wonder Woman works with crit. She gives a lifesteal for characters with Frantic, so she really works with that. Also, she has her emblem at level 30 that if you don't have, it's the first priority that you need to do. That when she does her advanced attack, when she gives many Frantics, she gives 20% action bar to all allies, and you can do that at the start of the match. This also gives Frantic to the second highest damage dealer on your team. That's super strong, even at lower levels of the emblem, like 10 and 20. But at third, this is awesome because you also can have the artifact Philosopher's Stone on her that can give you 5 or 10% speed stat. You have 4 speed gear on her, so she goes first with that. Even before a flash, the whole allure of his kit was that he's the fastest character in the game. He goes first and knocks back your action bar. Now she goes before him if you have her emblem at level 30, and I don't know exactly where you need to have the artifact. I think even at 5% speed, he's faster than Flash. I'm not really sure if Flash has like 4 speed on him, if you need to have the 10% or not, but she will go before Flash if you have investment into Philosopher's Stone and 4 speed gear on her, especially if Flash doesn't have speed gear on him, then it's a done discussion. And not many people are using Flash anyways. So she goes first. She gives 20% action bar on all your allies, so this makes everyone go before the opponents, or most of the people, unless you have someone very slow, like Osher Master, for example. The rest of your 3 or 4 people will go first and do like an advanced attack and gain ultimate energy, so you also use your ultimate first. And if it's Wonder Woman, you can stun many people and do massive damage. Even if Wonder Woman does an advanced attack, it puts silence to someone that could do something important. So she's definitely very nice to have with Wonder Woman. I'm kind of starting to consider a little bit breaking them apart, and I used her Zatanna with Justice Gang the previous season, where we needed superpower damage and Wonder Woman was kind of useless. I know there are some people that are splitting them apart now, and I already have like 89.2% crit chance already on Wonder Woman, and this doesn't count the stack of Frantic that she gains, so it goes to up to 100%. Also, I see here where it says in her emblem, it says increases crit by 15%. I don't know if this even... I think this doesn't count in here, so she's more than 100%. Very likely, especially with the Frantic she gets. So I don't need the extra Frantic from Zatanna. Used to be that her skill was giving Frantic only to the highest attack, and she was giving also strong attack to everyone. Now she gives more Frantic that are a little bit useless in Wonder Woman, because she already has the crit chance, and you would rather have 16% more damage than having 20% more crit rate that is already more than 100%. Some people might have crit resistance, so that's why you want to have a little bit more crit. Like for example, I have here on Nightwing 6%, but I'm also will probably build this to be a little bit higher. So okay, might be good to have a little bit more of a safety blanket with crit, unless you're going up against Peacemaker. But and we'll see how Peacemaker will change the meta. But yeah, besides Zatanna, used to be that the people were gonna use Two-Face in the back row with Wonder Woman, because Two-Face gives them damage amplification, so she could do a lot of damage quickly and kill people. And he also gives them some life steal, so that's nice. And I still kinda use that when his bad side is revealed. Back row island gain 15% life steal on top of what Zatanna does. And I'm still gonna use that in main stages sometimes, especially if I want to kill a back row that deals a lot of damage quickly. I have like Wonder Woman, Zatanna, and a Two-Face in the back row. More often in main stages, I'm using Flash with them as a healer and have his team synergy active. Lex is a character that many people are using with them, because Lex can help with survivability with the shields, but now every time he uses his ultimate it's more and more expensive. But he calls out for many assists, so for once you take advantage of Wonder Woman's damage and you deal more damage that way. For seconds you have life steal, so he helps with that, calling assist. Wonder Woman does damage and heals. And he has a team synergy that you can activate relatively easy, that can fit into the team, because Red Hood is not really used in main stages. And if you have like Two-Face and not Kid Flash that has a team synergy that you can activate, Lex is a very nice option. Bright kinda works with them, especially this season of Elite Arena, because she also has some crit on her kit that can kinda synergize, and some lifesteal that can kinda synergize with Zatanna. Also, she doesn't really have a place at the moment. I think she will get a small rework relatively soon. We'll see what this will be about. But she doesn't really have a place on anywhere else, but she can fit in this team. She's kind of beefy, so if you happen to have Bright unlocked, that she is available in the mother box that you can happen to pull here for the league recruitment. She's a nice main tank. She's beefy. Lex is more so to be the second tank. I cannot go into main stages, otherwise I would have shown it here. I need to bring characters to 315 to go to the challenge 57-3. So I'm gonna show them in later arena though, just to I've already talked about some other characters that can fit in the team, especially in main stages. You can also have Peacemaker, because as I said, he gives like shelter to the back row. He's beefy in his own right. In Elite Arena, you can still kinda use Red Hood. I don't know how much this will still be the case long term, also with more people having Peacemaker and Blue Beetle and stuff. They also kinda changed something, at least now I did find that out, where it says that challenge description. In the Elite Arena and Victory Arena, you receive 50% damage reduction at the beginning of battle, and at the end of each round you gain 50% damage increase. So this kinda nukes, if this is active, this kinda nukes the team basically, that you have a Wonder Woman dealing massive damage, having crit chance from increased damage from Red Hood, having damage application from Two-Face, and you kill the opponents quickly before they get to do anything. At least some members of them, especially like some healers or DPS that could be squeezy. This is not longer much of the case anymore. So we'll see exactly what will happen with them. Maybe they will get absorbed into a different team, like they did with Block in main arena. Wonder Woman and Zatanna is definitely the strongest characters in there that will still get played, maybe independent of each other, regardless of if a crit team stops being the meta in Elite Arena. I guess Peacemaker can be used in main stages. I haven't really tested him and don't have the option now. But I definitely want to test him in the main stages instead of Lex or instead of Bride. Again, if you only have one team, maybe it's best to try to hybridize them with a block. Maybe throw Lex in there until you get Blue Beetle, I don't know. Some people might try to use Green Arrow, try to make a team something like this, because he synergizes with... For once, you can try to do like an area of effect team with a Green Arrow, a Wonder Woman, and a Peacemaker. He also has crit on his kit that he gets crit chance and crit damage, especially when the opponents have more than 50% HP. So I know many people early game use them together, and this is still part of like an Evil Falls where you can use that against like Ultraman. You can use that in the first challenge, especially with area of effect, which you also have the requirement ready. I wouldn't try at this point to do a team, because you can activate that with Red Hood and a Green Arrow. But all those characters kind of work with crit and they can synergize with each other, because it's not bad to take advantage of the team synergy at rank 10 from Red Hood that gives your ally superpower resistance. This can be a nice extra to have, to throw some characters like that together. Some people may use Penguin to a small degree, because Penguin, if you have his bat at level 10, when he does his advanced attack, he raises an umbrella that gives your back row damage reduction, and he gives himself defense, but also with his emblem. But rank 10, it gives more attack to his back row, so you can kill the opponents more. Like, you basically take advantage of everything with that. You have damage, you have crit chance by Zatanna, you have a crit chance and crit damage by Red Hood, you have damage amplification by Two-Face, and you have more damage here for the back row for Penguin. This can kind of be a thing a little bit. Moving on to the next team, which is Debuff. Debuff isn't really a thing without Sinestro, and he's not super available. He used to be in the mother box here for league recruitment. He's not anymore. He used to be here as a feature character. I don't know what they will do with him. Hopefully you have him. Otherwise, you don't need him for the first main stages where you only need one team. But he's a very strong superpower damage dealer that can help you do a bigger score in the third league challenge with Steppenwolf. He's very important in an Evil Falls where you against Johnny Quick can help you push that a lot. He's a nice character. Just his cards are not super easy to get, but he's also half the times in the arena shop, so you can kind of get some of them. But as a legendary, you need 8th metal to upgrade him, and you also have Wonder Woman if you want to do, and many other legendaries that are at least worthy of discussion or of consideration to do them, especially if you have Sinestro at rank 8. Maybe you want to have a different character, especially like Blue Beetle at rank 8 before you try to do Sinestro at rank 9. Sinestro works with characters that put out debuffs. That don't need to be anything weird. There is a particular debuff tag that you can use in League Challenge, in the second League Challenge, where it says 3 debuff characters, but this is a little bit misleading because The SAD here takes less superpower damage every time he revives. So yes, Sinestro has a team there that requires his tag, but he deals very little damage there. So Batman is also part of this physical damage dealer that you can kind of try to make them work. Also a character that works awesome with Sinestro and is basically disabling the team is Raven, that puts out a lot of debuffs doing her basic. Does put out either bleed, poison, burn or frostbite for 2 rounds. This gives her extra life steal then. When she does her ultimate and the opponent has many types of debuffs, she also puts out fear with her ultimate. And if you have her at rank 10, it duplicates all the debuffs on the target, so they can have like 15 stacks of bleed from Deathstroke, and she does them for 1 extra turn. That's very strong, and many other types of debuffs. Many of them would be from Raven's basic that she will be putting out poisons, burn, and frostbite and whatever. So she's very strong. She also revives people. She's mandatory in the 3rd league challenge with Steppenwolf, so you can easily make a team with Raven and Sinestro in there. Grodd is also an awesome character and a very nice tank to have, even without the debuff team, but especially in them, because he puts out many debuffs with his ultimates. He puts out slow and weaken and knocks back the action bar by a lot for the back row. His basic puts out armor break. He has something here in his emblem and in his passive. So in his passive, when he gets attacked, has a chance of increasing the debuff for 3 rounds. And here, if the opponent has no debuff and he hits him, he hits Grodd, he gains 1 stack of weaken for 3 rounds. And they at rank 20 that I don't have him yet, but he's definitely a priority for that, is if he does damage with an ultimate, and the opponent has many type of debuff, he will add 1 stack of fear for 2 rounds, which is very strong. So he puts out many debuffs, also just passively by being hit. At the start of a match, he gains a 40 or 55% damage reduction for the first 2 rounds. That's why I don't have speed on him. I want him to have it a little bit longer, this damage reduction, but he also gets more damage reduction the more debuffs the opponents have. So he really works perfectly in there and is an awesome character all around. But apart from that, I talk about Batman. Many characters can work, like even Peacemaker. His ultimate puts out his ultimate is when they have armor break. So the yellow color there, the like orange. His basic is putting out armor break, and his advanced attack, he has the eagly that every turn he will add also fragile. So he puts out some debuffs. He's not the best in there because he works more with physical damage and they are superpower primarily. As I said, you can merge them with block, and you have Nightwing blocking a lot. And if when an ally blocks an attack, Ocean Master does counter attack that put out weaken, so they count of debuffs, and can be a lot of debuffs by that. And also his ultimate Ocean Masters puts out a bleed for as many weekends as opponents have. I kind of want to move on. I have a video on debuff where you can check them more extensively. You can have Penguin when he does a basic, he puts out poison. When he gets hit and has the umbrella up, the opponents also get poison. You can maybe try Two-Face. His ultimate deals bleed. His basic, his advanced attack does bleeds or silence and slow. So he puts out many debuffs and can make them survive a little bit more. Either his back row because he gives them life steal, or his front row because he gives damage reduction. Superman DCU is also in there. Puts out dampen that then your teammates deal more superpower damage, so that's right in Sinestro's Ali is perfect for him, and Raven. Even like more obscure character, not obscure, not commonly used without like a Robin's putting out many bleeds with all his attacks. He does some counter attacks that put out burns. Mr. Terrific. I'm gonna talk about them afterwards. That puts out dampen, so you can have a deal more damage, and he also throws back debuffs with his ultimate, so he can deal more. Put out more debuff for Sinestro to work with, and everyone, because you also put out 3 other like Raven and Grodd and Batman if you have his emblem maxed out. Even original Superman that don't have a Bizarro, just a character that puts out debuffs and he can kinda work in there, especially in main stages where Sinestro really has some time. You have some time to ramp up to have many debuffs on the opponents, and then you control them because you always knock back their action bar. So it's a very strong team that can be a very strong team in main stages. Can kind of win in Elite Arena, but it's not extremely strong, especially if you don't have a very big Sinestro. Better than not having a comprehensive team in there. So let's talk about the next team, because the Kanda, I've already mentioned that the Kanda hybridize together well, and that's the Justice Gang. So you can either use Team Synergy from Mr. Terrific, that if you have no tank in the team, you can kind of do that with Sinestro, but I don't particularly like building a team around that way. I much rather have like Superman DCU with debuff, or even also Terrific with them in mage stages, rather than either move the gear around. If you wonder why I don't have gear on him, because I'm trying stuff in Elite Arena and I don't want to upgrade characters in everyone, their gears, if I'm not using them often. So you can also throw like Terrific in some debuff combs with Sinestro Team Synergy active in main stages, or even in Elite Arena. As I said, Superman DCU works great in there, is a very nice tank, but with Terrific Team Synergy, you really want to have super power damage and no tanks in the team, and characters that fit that bill very well. To some degree, Sinestro kinda, if you just throw him with 3 Justice Gang members and a support, you tend up not having enough debuffs, because Sinestro, when you apply 6 debuffs, his ultimate costs 1 less. This doesn't happen very often, so you can bet on Sinestro's damage. So either you use him at 4 energy, or you use his ultimate more rarely. But John Constantine is a character that fits very well in there. Super power damage dealer. Green Lantern Hal Jordan that many people have, and he's gonna be being a surprise to me how well he does against me in Elite Arena. Especially having like a team synergy from Terrific active that gives him more damage and a life steal and defense, so he can survive the front row. Superboy is a super power damage dealer that I'm gonna talk about a little bit later. I can mention John as a possible candidate for the debuff, and that's it. Moving back to the team seat for Terrific. Superpower DPS. Technically speaking, I haven't tested that. There aren't really that many besides like the 3 Justice Gang. That is Guy, Superman DCU, especially with either with Superboy or with Terrific, he really ramps up. But we may have more characters in the future that are superpower DPS. that can really work in there. I don't particularly like Guy too much, especially in mid stages. I feel he added a little bit less in Elite Arena, but at the same time, I see his damage and the previous season where they had extra stats, and it's big. So, yes, he doesn't kill people with his ultimate that can make him reset it, so he kind of feels a little bit of a waste. He doesn't really put out many debuffs or protect someone besides himself that not in the first challenge where he's great at, doesn't make much of an impact. But his basic is strong, and you can make it better with his emblem. That can make his damage be considerable in an Elite Arena situation after with many turns. Guys also in the first league challenge. People that have him big use him together with them sometimes, so maybe they know something, I don't know. But I really love like Superman DCU, either as part of a debuff or with the Justice Gang. He does a lot of damage. He's a great tank. I'm gonna talk about an extra use for Superman DCU in a little bit. Besides that, you may want one more support with them, but I kind of found that like having the 3 Justice Gang, her Zatanna and Kid Flash kinda ended up being too supportive to support team full of support, because Mr. Terrific also is a support that deals some damage, but it kind of felt like it needed something a little bit more in the damage front. It wasn't necessarily bad. Maybe with Pandora it could be a little bit better, but I like Pandora with the block to keep her, because Pandora also deals damage as a healer. She doesn't just heal. At the same time, she wasn't really protected in this team, and she deals damage to herself. If her emblem is not at rank 30, then she gets also drained and maybe heals back up. So she was in a position where she could die easily, so I didn't really like her in there. So I haven't tested this team extensively in main stages, primarily because they are at lower ranks than other characters that I have that can make 3 strong teams around. I have used Terrific sometimes to help with. I have done his synergy actually with like a when I was using Wonder Woman with a block. I used constantly with them, and it was very nice. That's not extremely often, but I also plugged like Terrific in some situations in a debuff team that normally wouldn't win a main stages, but because Mr. Terrific does some stuff that counter what the opponents were doing, it ended up working. What I really was using with them always is the Superman DCU with the debuff team. And Guy's kinda more of a like first challenge boss if you have a high investment into him. I'm still like testing out a little bit. Maybe I can find a better team composition with them to make them stronger. At the same time, when now they don't have the buff for extra 100% that they had the previous season, a rank 8 Mr. Terrific cannot really compare with other characters that I have at rank 10 to get a spot in Elite Arena at the moment for me. I'm kind of buying his fragments. I have already 20, so he won't be long to get to rank 9. Guy's already there. Superman DCU is at 8 at least. And I'm also gonna talk about the next team that can make them a little bit better. So The final team that I want to talk about that I haven't really tested extensively, I have to some degree, especially in my second account, because I have more flexibility there on to build something different rather than to make Superboy and Burn Team usable here. He will need to go at least to rank 8, so I need to farm him for a while, and so I already had some fragments for Superboy. I don't have other characters at way higher stars than him, so I could like test him in the contrast with other characters at the similar level, so we could get some better like feedback, more realistic immediately rather than waiting like a few months. I probably will build them up, but at the pace that it makes sense. Because I've seen many people try some sort of a burn, and they also like to be they're kind of a hybrid with a Justice Gang, but some sort of a burn or hybrid with Justice Gang. Especially Burn always would have a Superman DCU if we start this discussion, but there are other Burn characters that are decent, especially the other Superman and the Bizarro. That's the only epic that I have never pulled. I've also used them in my second account as a League Challenge team. The first section that you need them. What I like about Superboy. Okay, so his team synergy when he's at rank 10, it is not my character. Your burn team deals more detonation damage, that if you have 4 stacks of burn, they detonate. But what is interesting to me is when burn detonates, it will lower the target's block rate by 12%. Block has the weakness. It takes reduced damage. There is like a stat where it's called block amount that Ocean Master is also giving to with his advanced attack for many turns, especially if you have him at rank 10, he gives it for 2 turns every 3. That he gives 50% block chance and 50% block amount. Plus you have that on your emblems that I'm very close to bringing him to 25 to have it higher. So 32.4% block amount for Ocean Master, for Blue Beetle, and for Nightwing when the emblems go at level 25. At 15 they also gain a nice buff, and it's smaller at 5. Plus the 50% that he gives to lower percentage HP to allies with the lowest HP. So a block amount, the base block amount is already 20% reduced damage. So if you put block on a tank that doesn't have any block amount in his emblem and he blocks, he will, or even have a piece here that gives him a little bit of block and he blocks, he will gain 20% less damage, but only for physical attacks. For physical damage dealer, like Wonder Woman, like the characters that you would use in the challenge 2 and not the third one. Batman, Deathstroke, Green Arrow. There are many other characters like support that are a bit less important to mention. Because they don't do that much damage. Red Hood is a physical damage dealer. Wonder Woman, of course, is the most important. But when they block a superpower damage attack, it still activates a Ocean Master's Team Synergy where he gives more attack stat and healing, but it doesn't reduce the damage that goes through. All the burn characters are dealing superpower damage. So for once, they will have damage going through block. If they can also reduce their opponent's block, And now you have a tank buster that is Superman DCU that can have more attack, either by Mr. Terrific giving him 50% increased superpower damage, by his team synergy, or by Superboy giving extra detonation damage by 18%. And you can even try to make this stronger, like have someone like Zatanna giving him frantics or whatever, like you would do with Wonder Woman to ramp her damage up. You can try to do something similar with Superman DCU, like even like Red Hood Team Synergy, or Two-Face, or a better artifact on him that will help him deal more damage quickly. If he's at a similar size than Nightwing, and especially if he has some extra buffs, he can potentially one-shot him. If not, he can deal a lot of damage, possibly with a reduced block chance by 12% for each detonation. Every time he does his ultimate, he does already 2 detonations, so you have minus 24% block chance every time. It takes 3 turns to get back to, but you can have other burn characters that help with that, like Superboy, maybe Bizarro, or the other Superman potentially. Crypto to a small degree that I have unlocked on my second account, so I have some experience playing with Crypto. You can have the opponents having less crit, and Superboy does many counterattacks that all of them deal burn, so he can help with that. So you can have a team that can potentially beat a block team. Their damage passes through. It doesn't get a blocked amount. Then Superpower DCU, he's very strong at bursting down tanks. His ultimate deals massive damage that he can be helped by other means, like Team Synergies and whatever. His basic then deals more damage to tanks. It has like 100%, what does it say? Any tank receive additional 200 or 300% of Superman's attack. That's very strong. And this also does this attack. Plus he adds dampen. You can have a Terrific adding dampen, Guy to a smaller degree. So dampen does reduce superpower damage resistance, so you can do more damage. And then you have Superman DCU using an ultimate that can potentially nuke a similar size, at least, a Nightwing or a Blue Beetle. And maybe you can have the... I know I had it the previous season where I wasn't using Red Hood, the rescan artifact on him that then will give him action bar and more basic damage. So you kill one of the two, like Nightwing or even Blue Beetle. Then you have your basic deal 35% more damage. It's already deal plus 300% times 300% attack. So I think they kinda multiply, like it won't be 335, it will be 300% times 1.35 more damage for his basics that they deal more damage to tanks. You can have other detonations in the back or other characters assisting with the damage. You can have some extra survivability with Mr. Terrific. I have seen this work against my team in arena, main arena, but the caveat is they had a level advantage and star advantage over me. So I don't know if they were just testing the limits of this team or if they can win I don't know how well they will fare if they are like the similar size, especially like it's a bit more realistic to happen if they are the smaller size than my characters are, and other people have a massive investment into like Ocean Master and Nightwing because they are out for a while. They were a very strong team. At this like point, they're not really the strongest team, or they cannot beat Block in any way in Elite Arena. Even the previous season that they had 100% more stats, they could kinda beat Block, but very unreliably. Like it was RNG based, and they had 100% more stats. So I leave a question mark on that. I kinda want to test it more to see what I can do more with the burn characters. A reason also is I don't have Bizarro. I to rush Superboy just to have him with a Superman DCU that already has a home kinda feels a little bit of a. I don't know how much optimal this will be, not having other burn characters in the team, but you need only one for this to activate. And I also don't have this section in the League Challenge. You need one more character to do that. If you go challenge difficulty 6, he already has a home in 2 homes in Debuff and in the Justice Gang. You could try kinda hybridize them more. Like the last 3 teams that I talked about, kinda make one team maybe that is like possibly, especially for something like Elite Arena, because kinda okay, Block is a boss team that's still my main team in Elite Arena and in main stages. So they're very strong in main stages, but if you have a very big Sinestro, Debuff can also be strong in main stages. And Block are the main team in Elite Arena that win the most for me, even without hybridizing them with something like Wonder Woman Zatanna or with Sinestro. That wouldn't make sense at the size I have Sinestro to do that for me. So Block are kind of more of a staple. Maybe they can absorb a secondary team in there. At the moment, I still have a Wonder Woman crit team that works in Elite Arena. Although I don't know now with Peacemaker if they're gonna get counter more, and with more people having Blue Beetle, maybe we kinda need to just use Wonder Woman and Zatanna with other characters and disband the rest of the team. They're still working very nice at the moment for me. But as they moved out of the main arena, maybe they will and absorbed in a different team. There are strongest pieces. This might also happen in Elite Arena. Those are my thoughts about them. But they're still a nice team, and they're not very, very solid together. So I wouldn't mind having them. I have them as my second team primarily in the main stages. I have Block as my first. I wouldn't mind having them be merged with a different team to be stronger, or even like in some situations I use like a Wonder Woman with my main team because I need more damage to kill the back row that are doing a lot of damage. So with Block I use her in main stages as a first team in some situations, and this works better for me, and I can still kind of make a team with Constantine and either like other characters that would make a crit team kind of work, or with some Justice Gang members, and then you have like a team with like Debuff plus Justice Gang that can kind of make an Elite Arena team and or a main stages team, a hybrid of them in some sorts, because they aren't really the strongest, especially like a Debuff in Elite Arena. At least for me, where my Sinestro is not the biggest. some burn pieces can fit with them. Some burn pieces can try to go with Justice Gang as the fourth team. Again, the last two teams that I haven't that I mentioned, I have a little bit less investment into them. They're kind of a little bit more of emerging teams, especially with the addition of Superman DCU and his buff that he received after that. He kind of really made possible a burn team and a Justice Skunk team, and the hybrid of them. So having them at a smaller size, I haven't really tested them extensively, especially burn. In main stages, I tried in Arena in my second account trying to do a burn team like with Superboy and Superman DCU, and yes, he can kill a Nightwing. I don't have the right pieces after that to make a solid team. I don't know if we'll see like something like a hybrid of block and burn. Maybe not, but or like with Zatanna and Superman DCU. But Superman DCU can kill Nightwing and keep going, and Wonder Woman can't. Maybe this can be an option. Wow, this video has gotten to 1 hour. Kid Flash is a great character that can fit into many teams, as I said, that especially in main stages where you may need more healing. Pandora a little bit of the same. It's a little bit tricky because there are many characters that can work with Debuff, but what will they do after that? Like Batman, that have some misuses in the game. Some other teams like kinda worth mentioning. You can try to make some area of effect with Green Arrow. It's kind of a variation of a crit team, a way of looking at it. Poison can be strong in some situations, even Elite Arena viable. And they also use the main challenge in the first challenge as a team, the back row. Heal. Some people try to build a team around Bane and have like a Kid Flash team synergy and other characters that work with heal. Some have a Starfire Carol, a Martian Manhunter ramps up the healing of a team. I don't know if you can afford to have also Pandora in there. I haven't really tasted too much of a team like that, besides like having Kid Flash carry a team by his healing as my third team in main stages for a while. Haven't really gone into how to optimize the team around Bane, but I know some people are using that in Elite Arena and sometimes getting wins against me, so it's something at least worth mentioning. Shield, like Lex Luthor's team Shield, is very easy to make. There's other characters that put out shields like Pandora or Green Lanterns, and you kinda need to have in the second challenge a shield team. And some people, if you have a big hull, some people can make a strong Elite Arena team with that. Maybe if they get a rework, like Creature Commandos are getting a rework, maybe they will become a little bit more relevant. He has a team synergy that hasn't gotten much play. After in the game so far,